what is Average Directional Movement Index (ADX). And by the end of this session, you should be able to understand what is Average Directional Movement Index (ADX), how to add it, interpret, and use the indicator. The Average Directional Movement Index (ADX) is a technical indicator which developed by J. Welles Wilder to determine the strength and ability of a trend. The ADX indicator is calculated by averaging the values of rising price ranges. The ADX indicator is a combination of two other indicators, the Positive Directional Indicator, which is abbreviated as plus DI, and Negative Directional Indicator, which is minus DI. The ADX combines them and smooths the results with a smooth moving average. The ADX, together with the plus DI and minus DI, are used to measure the strength of price movement when market is in bullish, bearish, and sideways condition. Let's look what is plus DI and minus DI. A positive directional index is the difference between previous highs and current highs. When the positive DI moves upwards, it means the market is in uptrend, and the positive DI moves downward, it means the market is in downtrend. Meantime, the negative directional index is the difference between the previous lows and current lows. When the negative DI moves upwards, it means the market is in downtrend, and when the negative DI moves downwards, then it means the market is in uptrend. The ADX indicator allows traders to change the number of periods in which its underlying ADX indicator is based on. This can be done by modifying the ADX variable within the indicator settings. We'll go over the ADX indicator in details on the chart with the default setting of 14 period, and as well as how to use it with a combination of price action. Let's begin with placing the ADX indicator on chart. To place the ADX indicator on chart, there is few methods to do it. The first method is to go to Insert, then Indicators. Under the trend, select the Average Directional Movement Index. The second method will be the easiest one, as you click and drop it from the Navigator panel. To do that, simply go to Navigator panel, Indicators. Under the trend, click the Average Directional Movement Index, drag and drop it on chart. It's done. Now let's look how to use the ADX indicator in trading. In this ADX indicator, there are three main lines. The blue in color is the ADX line. The positive DI line is in green color, and the negative DI line is in red color. The ADX indicator has a range of 0 to 100, where 0 denotes the weakest trend and 100 is the strongest trend. A weak trend is defined as the ADX line being between 0 and 20. A strong trend is defined as the ADX line being between 25 and 35. A very strong trend is defined as the ADX line being between 35 and 45. When the ADX line is between 45 and 100, it indicates extremely strong trend. There are three methods in which traders can use the ADX indicator during trading. They are identifying the sideways market, entering the position by using crossovers, using the ADX indicator in combination with a trend trading. Now let's look one by one in detail how to use them. Sideways. The market is normally in a sideways trend when the ADX value is below 25. This helps the traders to stay away from current market or change the trading strategy. Crossovers. There are two types of ADX crossovers, which are positive ADX crossover and negative ADX crossover, which triggers the signal. Traders use the positive crossover to execute a buy order and negative crossover for sell order. Positive crossover happens when the ADX line is above 25 and the plus DI line goes upwards from below to above the negative DI line. It is known as a bullish ADX crossover or positive ADX crossover. While when the ADX line is above 25 and the positive DI line goes downwards from above to below the negative DI line, it is known as a bearish ADX crossover or negative ADX crossover. Now let's look how to enter a buy and sell order. If ADX is above 25 and the positive DI line moves upwards, which is from below to above the negative DI line, then this indicates a buy signal. When the positive DI crosses, open a buy position at the opening of a new candle and the stop loss is placed at the low of the previous candle. My advice is that always check the difference between the stop loss and entry price, and it must be 2% of the risk reward to ratio. And for sell, if ADX is above 25 and the positive DI line moves downwards, which is from above to below the negative DI line, then this indicates a sell signal. When the negative directional moving index crosses, open a sell position at the opening of new candle and the stop loss is placed at the high of the previous candle. My advice is that always check the difference between the stop loss and entry price, and it must be 2% of the risk to reward ratio. Here are a few examples of ADX signals. The combination. The final method is to use this indicator in combination with other indicators that define the market trend, as the ADX indicator by itself does not indicate whether the trend is uptrend or downtrend. It just measures the strength of the current trend. So how do we define the market's trend? There are many ways, but one of the easiest and most common ways is to simply look at the market's 50-day moving average. Based on my experience as a professional trader, the best way to use the ADX indicator is together with the 50-period moving average to execute the buy or sell trades, which gives a high winning rate. For example, if the price above the 50-period moving average and the ADX is above 25, always look for buy signal when the positive directional moving index cross over the negative directional moving index from below. Similarly, if the price below the 50-period moving average and the ADX is above 25, always look for sell signal when the positive directional moving index cross over the negative directional moving index from above. Here are a few examples of ADX combination signals.